Candles, I need to get something off my chest real quick. This whole J.C. Horn car accident and drama, it's been way overblown. Look, yeah, he got into a car wreck. It was a very little minor car wreck. Yeah, he needed a few stitches on his thumb, but let's not act like this was some catastrophic life-changing event. Coach Dave Candles said it right after practice. Horn is day-to-day. No need for an ambulance. No one was hospitalized. This guy showed up to practice in sweats. He is perfectly fine. But yet, the media and Twitter and Facebook keep ranting and raving about it. The accident happened during some heavy rain in downtown Charlotte. That's it. Stuff happens. Yet somehow, every headline and social media feed is blowing up like Horn was in the hospital on life support. Meanwhile, this guy's just chilling, healing a thumb, and will likely be out the field next week. The Carolina Panthers just gave him a $100 million contract extension earlier this offseason. They clearly believe he's their guy, and why wouldn't they? Horn's a 2024 Pro Bowler, a lockdown corner, and one of the best at his position. So enough with the panic. J.C. Horn's car wreck is an unfortunate incident, but the overreaction, that's the real accident here. He's going to be fine, and the Panthers know it at the end of the day. Cue that intro. Are you ready for the best damn NFL show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that. Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs. You know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA. We the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers. Go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour Show to manhourradio.com. Guys, check out the merchandise page or check out the blog section as well. But guys, most importantly here, guys, hit the share button. Hit the share button, hit the like button, and also subscribe to the channel below. Guys, this is a live, interactive show. Want to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and your hottest of the hottest takes. I'm all about that conversation. But if you guys want to take it one step further, if you want to be kind to the Man Hour Nation, guys, become a Pigskin Pundit. That is $4.99 a month. You get extra, you get free merchandise, you get free entry to all of our NFL pick'ems, and of course, you get the afternoon drive as well. Before we get too carried away in the show, guys, we got to welcome some people into the chat. We got to welcome the man, the myth, the legend. Alpha Rob is in the chat today. He says, come on, Buck. It's the internet. What do you expect? My man, I expect people not to be blown up over 2 stitches in a damn thumb. Come on, now slow down, baby. If it was any one of us, we would have been expected to be at work the next day. Matter of fact, we probably would have gotten written up because we were just a little bit late because of the car wreck. Let's just be honest. But damn, slow it down, baby. We also have Let's Go Sports in the chat today. What is up, brother? What is up? What is up? Let's Go Sports, guys, is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and he is fully on board with the 9-8 season going on. So, guys, if you guys are down here, let us know. Let us know where you're from. Let us know what team you represent. But today, guys, we're talking about the NFC North. We covered all the AFC teams last week. We covered the NFC East last night. And today, we're arguably going to one of the toughest divisions in football, and that is the NFC North. And that's the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, the Chicago Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings. Put some respect on the name because they're going to need a lot of love after we get done with through them today. But guys, let's go ahead and jump directly into today's show, and let's start with the win-loss predictions with the one and only Minnesota Vikings. So guys, it is Minnesota Vikings. JJ McCarthy is the future. He is the man, the myth, the legend as of right now in 2025. But the future starts fast and hits like a freight train when J.J. McCarthy does take the field here in about 30-some-odd days. After sitting out last season due to injury, J.J. McCarthy enters his second year as a pro in name only. But truth be told, guys, this is his rookie campaign. And the schedule does him no favors. Matter of fact, the schedule does Mr. Vikings no favors whatsoever. Jordan Addison will be missing the first 3 weeks of the NFL season, which is a massive blow because he's arguably the number 2 receiver on any team out there. And when he just returns, the Vikings head overseas with the back-to-back international games. You cannot script any more chaotic beginning of the young quarterback trying to find his rhythm. But guys, let's break it down. Game-by-game prediction for the Minnesota Vikings here in 2025. And we're going to start with weeks 1 through 5. We're going to call this rookie trial by fire. This is where men are made. This is where boys are lost. This is where you make or break your NFL debut, and that's on Monday Night Football when the Minnesota Vikings travel to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears. Guys, J.J. McCarthy's first NFL start comes in prime time. Soldier Field is rocking. The Bears' defense is aggressive, and Jordan Addison is suspended. That is a tough combination. I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to start the season off 0-1 by when the Bears punch them in the mouth early and often. However, week 2, they get to go back home and they get to play the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings get their footing in this home opener. The defense steps up and J.J. McCarthy flashes a little bit of promise. A little bit of promise is going to be a long way for them season, but the Minnesota Vikings do get the first win of the season heading to 1-1. Week number 3, they are back at home, taking on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Are they going to have Trey Hendrickson? Or are they not going to have Trey Hendrickson? This could legit make or break this game if Trey Hendrickson is in or out. I am predicting that Trey Hendrickson will be out. But Joe Burrow is still dangerous. But the Minnesota Vikings bring the energy. Jordan Addison is still out, but J.J. McCarthy brings just enough plays with him, and along with J.J., Justin Jefferson, the Jet, to steal one over the Cincinnati Bengals, giving them 2-1 start to the season. Now, week number 4, they head across the pond. They head across the pond to Ireland to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And T.J. Watt introduces himself to J.J. McCarthy early and often. This is not a great introduction. This is a welcome to the NFL second-year rookie. He's going to put him in the dirt early and often. In front of a global audience, the rookie looks overwhelmed, and the Vikings fall to 2-2 on the season. With that being said, week number 5, they're still over the pond, but this time they go over to Germany, and they play the one and only Cleveland Browns. Guys, Jordan Addison is in his second game back, but it is overshadowed by the jet lag and the dominant, you heard it right, Cleveland Browns defense. 2 straight international losses for the Minnesota Vikings, going 2-3 into the bye week. So guys, through the first 5 weeks, the Minnesota Vikings showed a little bit of flash the first 2 and 3 weeks of the season. But the loss of Jordan Addison early, the suspended for the 3 games, the overseas gauntlet takes a toll, and sitting at 2-3, and the growing pains are obvious. But J.J. McCarthy is showing a little bit of toughness, giving us into week 6 through 10, where they just cannot get past the wall. They hit the wall hard, and it is painful to be a Minnesota Vikings fan. Obviously, guys, week 6 is the bye week, but then week number 7, they are back at home playing the Philadelphia Eagles, arguably the best team in the NFL. Post-bye bump, not this time, guys. The Philadelphia Eagles front 7 is too much for the Vikings O-line, and the skid continues, dropping them to 2-4 on the season. And then week number 8, they have a short work week. They travel to L.A. for Thursday Night Football to take on the Chargers. Short work week, long road trip, and Harbaugh has L.A. rolling. This turns into a blowout. You heard it here. The Chargers blowing the Minnesota Vikings out. The Vikings drop to 2-5 on the season, and the wall continues to get hit because they're back on the road yet again, this time heading to division foe, the Detroit Lions. Guys, the Detroit Lions dominate up front and control the game early and often. Minnesota Vikings often struggles to stay on the field, and just the Detroit Lions are a hell of a lot better, dropping them to 2-6 on the season. And the skid does not stop, because week 10, they're back at home. Finally back at home, finally some home cooking, sleeping in their own beds, whatever. But they arguably the NFC slayer in Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, I think Lamar Jackson puts on a clinic and the Vikings have no answer. 4 straight losses, dropping them to 2-7 on the year. Guys, the Vikings come out of the bye and they hit a nightmare of a stretch. Tough defenses, tough venues, and a rookie second-year quarterback trying to survive. 2-7, the heat is on. The heat is on because the division will beat you down. Guys, the NFC North is arguably the toughest division in football. But week 11, the Minnesota Vikings try to turn things around when they're back at home, take on the Chicago Bears. They have a slight of relief at home with some experience finally under his belt. J.J. McCarthy finally gets back one. Jordan Addison scores, Jefferson shines, and the losing streak ends, bumping the Minnesota Vikings to 3-7. But the losing streak gets right back on track in week 12 when the Minnesota Vikings travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Guys, Lambeau in late November, there is no place for a young quarterback. Jordan Love is efficient and the Packers cruise, dropping the Vikings to 3-8 on the year. That's tough, baby. And then week 13, guess what? They're back on the road. Back on the road playing the Seattle Seahawks. Another tough environment, another tough place to play. And oh, by the way, playing their former quarterback, Sam Darnold, which he's having somewhat of a decent season. The crowd noise in Seattle rattles J.J. McCarthy. Mistakes pile up, and another road loss. 3-9 on the season. That is tough. That is tough. That is tough. That is tough. And then week 14, they're back at home taking on the Washington Commanders. Listen to the theme that we've been saying. Defense, defense, defense. Been dominate the Vikings front seven. Dominating the Vikings O-line. Dominating the Vikings O-line. And it continues week 14 when Dan Quinn's defense feasts. The whole Washington Commanders defense, they might be old as balls, 34, 35, 36 years old, but the pass rush creates chaos, and the Minnesota Vikings drop to 3-10 on the season. They had one step further, finally breaking the losing streak, but they took 3 steps back. Guys, the Minnesota Vikings managed a divisional win, but they can't stack the momentum. They're sitting at 3-10, and this season feels like a loss. However, they still have a little bit of fight left in them. They have a little bit of fight left in them, and maybe just enough to fight to the finish. Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend, because week 15, they traveled to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Put some respect on their name. The Dallas Cowboys are in full playoff mode, and the Vikings can't match their speed or physicality, dropping into 3-11 on the year. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel because week 16, they're back on the road, take on the New York Football Giants, and they finally find a road win. The Vikings take advantage of the mistake-prone Giants team, and J.J. McCarthy leads a game-winning drive, moving into 4-11 on the year. And then week 17, they're back at home. Short work week and in front of a national audience. Minnesota Vikings want to play spoiler alert when they play the Detroit Lions at home. They punch the Lions in the mouth, and they get a satisfying divisional win, moving into 5-11 on the year. However, 2-game winning streak does not last long because week 18, they're back at home, take on the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are fighting for playoff seeding. The Minnesota Vikings are outmatched, and they finished the year with 5-12. So, guys, with that being said, the Minnesota Vikings find some pride later in the year, ending out 2-2 to close it out, but it is not enough to make the playoffs. It is not enough to even sniff the playoffs, but it is enough to feel hopeful going into 2026. So there it is, guys. My final prediction, 5-12 for the Minnesota Vikings. This was never going to be the year, right? Jordan Addison's early suspension, J.J. McCarthy's lack of experience, and the brutal scramble, it all adds up. But it's all not doom and gloom for the Minnesota Vikings. This team has laid the foundation. J.J. McCarthy got real reps, and the coaching staff figure out who they can and cannot trust. And if you are a Vikings fan, you can walk away knowing this team is heading in the right direction, even if the record doesn't show. But what do you guys think? In the comments down below, is 5-12 too harsh for the Minnesota Vikings, or is it the reality of breaking a new quarterback in this brutal NFC? Guys, comment down below. This is live, interactive show. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and of course, we are live Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. East Coast time, right here at youtube.com/manout. So let's get into the comments. Alpha Rob, right off the bat, says 10-7. They have questions at quarterback. Alpha Rob, I'm no mathematician here, but I feel like 10 wins in the NFC is going to get you into the playoffs. If you have questions at quarterback, you do not get into the playoffs. I'm just saying. I could be wrong. But I'm saying 10-7, question at quarterback, that is tough. That is tough. Let's Go Sports says, I don't know what to think of JJ McCarthy. I really don't know what to expect from him. Saw him last year's preseason and at Michigan, and he was good. No Addison really hurts for a guy like him in 3 weeks. We said this on the afternoon drive. Let's Go Sports. If you are a pigskin pundit, you got a chance to experience our afternoon drive. Laura is a huge Minnesota Vikings fan. She herself is worried about JJ McCarthy. Herself, Mrs. Pigskin Pundit, where's the little thing at? There it is.
Pigskin Pundit. Get yourself.
Is saying, hey, I full out expect us to be a 7, 8, 9 win team. I full out expect us to get half of the wins that we got last season. I full out expect to be this complete rebuild year. And honestly, I said that about the Minnesota Vikings last season. I stubbed my toe against the Minnesota Vikings last season. I think everybody and their dog, honestly, had them pegged as a 4, 5, 6 win team. Now, obviously, they overachieved. Nobody thought Sam Darnold was going to do what he did last season. On the other shoe has fallen, right? Now that the shoe is on the other foot, is the thing going to happen for JJ McCarthy? I don't know. That is so tough. Sadie's in the chat again. What's up, Sadie? She says, good evening here from Fort Beach, South Carolina. I think the Vikings finished 9-8. Sadie, you know what? That is my ceiling, I think, for the Minnesota Vikings. When you think of the floor, the worst of the worst that they could possibly do, I see the Minnesota Vikings as a potentially 6 win team. If they best of the best, everything clicks, I can see the ceiling being a 9 win team. Now, really, the only thing that has changed from last season is obviously Sam Darnold, right? They still got a fairly good defense. Offensive line is a little bit, right? A little bit shaky, a little bit of question marks there, but they add some depth later in the year. You still have old, what's his face, Aaron Jones. JJ McCarthy is the biggest what if, right? And it just, that is tough. That is tough because your biggest what if is your guy, right? I don't know. It's just what it is. Let's Go Sports says, I don't know what to expect from JJ McCarthy. A little pro experience he's shown he's had good in the past, but no Addison the first week, I think is tough. Now, also, I said this in the afternoon drive, is that you cannot replicate real game reps. You can watch all the film that you want. You can prepare like you're going into a game all you want. You can prepare check downs. You can do this, and this, or whatever they were doing there in Minnesota to make him better. But nothing replaces time on the field. Nothing replaces that eye test on the field. Nothing replaces anything getting underneath center and getting smacked in the mouth. Nothing can replace that. Why do you think year after year, Friday nights, the first Friday night of a high school season, you see cramps all over the field? First game of college, you see cramps all over the field. Hell, the first night of the NFL weeks, we're going to see cramps all over the field because you cannot replicate game speed. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Let's Go Sports says, I really would expect McCarthy to struggle the first 4 weeks. No Addison for the first 3 weeks, so Jefferson and Hawkinson will be locked in if the D can. Then, right when Addison comes back, they have to play Pittsburgh. The old 9-8 Pittsburgh Steelers. That is tough. Lisa's in Ireland, right? Lisa's in Ireland. Playing that crazy Pittsburgh defense at the beginning of the first year, the rookie, will not be fun. Possibly the best defense in the league, especially in Ireland with a lot of Steelers fans. Listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers do have a good defense. They could be a great defense. What happens when they add Micah Parsons? Well, Let's Go Sports says, like I said, do not know what to expect from him this year, considering this is his first year playing pro football. Hope you're correct. My man, John's in the chat. He's a pigskin pun.
Pigskin pun. Get you.
He says, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? He said the Minnesota Vikings are going 9-8. Woof. John, I don't know how serious to take you because you are a Detroit Lions fan, and we are becoming Detroit Lions fans very, very soon. And you're going to be pissed off at me, John, so stay tuned. He says the Vikings do go 9-8 and miss the playoffs. That is tough. Let's Go Sports says, I think 5-12 is too low, but I most definitely don't expect them to have a regular season they had last season or make a playoff run at all. NFC North is tough. The NFC North is probably the best division in football. You can say the AFC North, but let's just be honest. You have the Ravens up here, and then you have the Steelers, and you have the Browns and the Bengals fighting for the bottom position. AFC West is kind of like the same. You have the Chiefs and the Chargers up at the top, Broncos and Raiders at the bottom. The NFC North, legitimately, like, let's just be flat out honest. Take favoritism out of it. Use your logical speaking. Use your eyes. The Bears could rattle off 3, 4, 5 wins in a row. Get that momentum going. They could win the North. The Lions could win 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. Get the momentum and win the North. The Vikings could pull off what they did last year. Get a little hot, get a little momentum, and win the North. It's just the North is honestly wide open. Alpha Rob says, question, because the offense is good, but not the season they had last year because of the quarterback. So many people are saying that Kevin O'Connell is this quarterback guru, is this quarterback whisperer. It's a system. No matter who you get, he's going to go in there and do great. I guess we're going to find out really, really soon, aren't we? We're going to find out if he is a guru or not. AC is in the chat. What's up, AC? He said the Vikings are a 6-win team, my dude. I agree with you, brother. I agree with you. I have them at 5-12. You have them at six wins. We're kind of right there in the ballpark there. And then you say I have no ball knowledge. So you are agreeing with me that they're going to have 5 to 6 wins. And then you tell me that I have no ball knowledge. Or you talking to Let's Go Sports and like Let's Go Sports. You talking to me? Who you talking to, AC? Put some name on it. Who has no ball knowledge? I have no ball knowledge. Let's Go Sports has no, or like, who doesn't have no ball knowledge? We just want to know. Put a name to it, brother. Sadie says they still have it. They still have George Jefferson, and he's pretty good. Justin Jefferson is arguably the best receiver in NFL. I say arguably because, honestly, you could probably intertwine him or Jamar Chase. You can flip-flop, and there's not going to be argument from me, and there's probably not going to be argument from anybody that has a logical, non-biased type of brain here now, right? Now, obviously, the Vikings fans are going to say that JJ is the best. Bengals fans will be like, Jamar Chase is the best. But yes, Justin Jefferson is pretty damn good. However, every Batman needs a Robin. Think about this. When Antonio Brown was at his peak, at his prime in Pittsburgh, Let's Go Sports, you know this. Who was his Robin? Juju Smith-Schuster. Once Hollywood Brown went away, Juju went down because he was a guy and he didn't have his Robin. Once he got his Robin, I'm trying to think of who came in and been his Robin. Was it George Pickens, maybe? George Pickens was his Robin. Bada bing, Juju had a great season. Same thing with like Megatron, right? You always have to have Batman to Robin. And when Jordan Addison is out, now you can double team JJ. TJ Hawkinson, he is injured as of right now, which is could be the Batman. While Addison is out, are they going to have somebody else step up? That is the biggest question. Who are they going to have step up during that 3-game absence of Jordan Addison? John Cunningham's in the chat. What's up, John? He is a Detroit Lions fan, and he says the Minnesota Vikings will got 7 wins. So pretty much across the board, guys, we are saying that they are not going to be a 14-team win this season. There are a couple outliers. We have Alpha Rob being 10-7. We have John being 9-8. Might be the most realistic, honestly. But then you got us haters over here. I have them at 5 wins. AC has them at 6 wins. Sadie has them about 6-7 wins, right? Where are we at, Sadie? Let me scroll back. I can't scroll up. And then John has about 7. Let's Go Sports says 5 or 5 is too low. What was it? What would you have him at? Let's Go Sports. 9. Oh, so Sadie had him at 9-8. So we're kind of all over the board. So let me know, guys. Where do you guys think the Minnesota Vikings will be in 2025? But let's move on to the Chicago Bears, and the hype is real. If you want to flashback to May, guys, the hype was real. I was jumping on the Chicago Bears bandwagon, but then a week later, I'm like, slow it down, baby. But understand, it is the Chicago Bears. Understand, it is the Chicago Bears, and it is May. And then June, I was like, okay, here we go, Bears. I'm like, Buck, understand it's June. It's the Chicago Bears. Do not buy the hype. But guys, back in May, the hype was real. I had this team winning 9 games, and I will admit it. I will flat out admit it. I was high on Ben Johnson. New head coach, offensive guru, Caleb Williams coming in, the sky high expectations, and the roster with real pieces on both sides of the ball. They were adding, they had arguably the best offseason out of everybody in the NFL. But now, we're in August. August 6, 2025. 9:33 here on the West Coast time. Watching Caleb Williams go through practice after practice, watching the timing, watching the footwork, watching the hesitations. The growing pains are real in Chicago. And it's got me wondering, is this Ben Johnson effect a myth? Or is it just going to take a couple years to see it in full force? Either way, guys, year 1 under Ben Johnson is going to be a long one in Chicago. Guys, let's go game by game. The win-loss prediction for the 2025 Chicago Bears. And I do think the Ben Johnson effect does have a promising start, and then they get a quick reality check. Because week number 1, they are at home taking on the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. Caleb Williams gets the win under the lights of primetime football. The crowd is rocking, and the defense sets the tone. The Bears are 1-0. But the honeymoon quickly ends because you got yet another divisional game, this time going to Detroit, and the Detroit Lions is still the class of the NFC North, and they out-execute the Chicago Bears in all 3 phases. Ben Johnson gets a rude awakening. Welcome back home. Now go back between the tail between your legs because you are 1-1. But week number 3, they come back home to play the Dallas Cowboys. This is a statement win early in the season. The Bears pull off a stunner behind a big defensive performance and get just enough from Caleb Williams to move them to 2-1 on the season. But then reality checks in. The trap game of all trap games is on the way when they travel to Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. When the Chicago Bears travel west, and the Raiders capitalize on mistakes, Ben Johnson's squad gets humbled yet again, moving them to 2-2 on the year. Then an early week 5 bye weeks give the Bears a chance to regroup and reassess. So guys, after the first 5 weeks and after the bye, I do have the Chicago Bears sitting at 2-2. They have flashes of what could be. Opening night, what could be. When they play the Dallas Cowboys, what could be. But they are inconsistent already, and it's showing. Caleb Williams does have talent, but the second-year mistakes are real. Then we go into phase 2, week 6 through 10. This is a stretch that's going to define the Chicago Bears season because they travel to Washington, the nation's capital, to take on the Commanders. Guys, the Washington Commanders defense overwhelms Caleb Williams on prime time. The pass rush gets home, and the Bears offense stalls out yet again. 2-3 on the year. And then the roller coaster continues because they're back at home taking on the New Orleans Saints. This is the type of game that Chicago has to win. If they don't win this game, they can possibly not win a game for the rest of the season. If they win this game, we could potentially see a playoff-bound team. And I think they do get this win. Home crowd, solid game plan, and a bounce-back performance from Caleb Williams, moving the Bears to 500 3-3 on the year. In the week number 8, they travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. There is no contest here. Lamar Jackson is too much. Lamar Jackson feasts on NFC teams for whatever reason, and the Ravens dominate from start to finish, dropping the Bears to 3-4 on the year. And now the losing streak starts. Because week number 9, they travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Joe Burrow carves up that defense. Another road game, another humbling loss. Now 3-5. Week number 10, they're back at home taking on the New York Football Giants. And this one stings. This one hurts a lot. This one puts a knife in the heart and twists it and twists it and twists it because this is a very winnable game. But Caleb Williams struggles and the Giants' pass defense just feasts on Williams all day long. The Bears fall to 3-6. Now, after the first 10 weeks, though, guys, they're sitting at 3-6. The optimism is fading quickly in Chicago. The Bears have been competitive, but the inexperience shows. They are close. They're just not there quite yet. And then weeks 11 through 14, guys, we got to brace for the impact. We got to brace for the impact because the wheels are falling off the wagon. They want to fire Ben Johnson. They want to trade Caleb Williams. Brandon Beastie Combs is going crazy right now because they go to Minnesota on the road, and the Minnesota Vikings get revenge at home. J.J. McCarthy outplays Caleb Williams this time, and the Bears drop another divisional game, moving into 3-7 on the year. And guess what? The losing streak continues, even at home when they play the Pittsburgh Steelers. TJ Watt lives in the Bears' backfield all afternoon. Caleb Williams can't get settled, and the losing streak continues, moving the Bears to 3-8 on the year. And then week 13, they travel to Philadelphia on Black Friday, national spotlight, and meet an elite opponent. It is not even close. We could see Tanner McKee in the second quarter. Philadelphia steamroll Chicago, and this game feels like it was over at halftime, dropping them to 3-9. And guess what? Week 14, they still have no answers. They travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers, and Jordan Love keeps the Packers' playoff hopes alive with the win, and the Bears sink deeper, 3-10. 4 straight losses, and the Ben Johnson experiment is under fire. Caleb Williams is under fire. Everybody is under fire in Chicago, and this season feels like it's circling the drain, but there's still a little bit of fight left in the Chicago Bears. They try to muster out something to end. And week 15 at home, this is a feel-good win when they beat the Cleveland Browns. The defense creates turnovers. Caleb Williams put together one of the most complete performances of his NFL career, and the Bears actually look really, really good. And they carry that momentum into week 16 at home when they play the Green Bay Packers. And the Bears get back at one. This is an emotional one. Caleb shines, and the defense plays lights out yet again. And the team snaps the Lambeau curse, at least at home. Now they're 5-10. But then week 17, they travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. No miracle here. The Niners are in playoff form. They will dominate both lines of scrimmage, and the Bears fall to 5-11. And then week 18, they're back at home playing the Detroit Lions. Guys, I think the Chicago Bears end the season on a high note. They're playing spoiler against the Detroit Lions and give the home fans something to cheer for heading into the offseason. Finally put them at 6-11. So a 3-1 finish gives the Bears a little momentum to build on heading into the offseason. It's not the season that the fans were hoping for. It is not the season that they expect, but it is not a total collapse after all. So here's where I've landed on the Chicago Bears. 6-11 is their final record in 2025. That's the floor I had set back in May, and right now that's exactly where they land. The ceiling, I feel like if everything clicks, they can get 9 wins. But based on what I've seen so far, especially from Caleb Williams learning the learning curve and how long this offseason system might take to settle in, year 1 of Ben Johnson era will be filled with lessons more than wins. But what do you guys think? Is the Ben Johnson effect still real? Or are we just looking at another long rebuild in the Windy City? Guys, comment down below. It's a live, interactive show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Remember, we are live Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. East Coast time. And Sadie, from beautiful South Carolina, says the Bears will be 9-8. Sadie, back in May, I was with you. I love the Chicago Bears back in May, I should say. 9-8 was a real deal. But doing a show a year and a half with Brandon BC Combs, the biggest Chicago Bears fan I know, the man that was wishing death on Virginia McCaskey forever and finally got his wish. Sorry, but it's just silly to me. This man had me excited. Ben Johnson, they were adding Tooney, they were doing everything right. But go and watch their training camp right now. Matter of fact, go back to Monday and watch the interview with Caleb Williams on NFL Football Channel, which is now owned by ESPN. I'm going to start boycotting that too. Not a lot of excitement there. Casey says that offensive line gave Williams some PTSD. Facts. Guys, Caleb Williams had 2.7 seconds to throw the ball last season on average. 2.7 seconds. Let me be silent for 2 seconds. Boom, sacked. It takes like a half a second for the ball to even come at you. It takes another 3/4 of a second to look down. He didn't have time. But John, picks and punted again.
Skin pun. Get you.
Says the Bears will finish 10-7. John is loving him from Chicago Bears. So, John, do you think they get hot against some teams like the Minnesota Vikings, the Browns, the Packers? Like, me personally, I think the NFC North also has a very, very tough schedule. Not only do they got to battle each other, right? They got to play the AFC North as well, which is pretty good. And then they play the NFC East, which is very, very underrated. So I wonder, John, where are you getting those 10 wins from? Where are you getting those 10 wins? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be a smart. I'm just curious. Casey Pigskin Pundit.
Pigskin pun. Get you.
Says 8-9. Not a fan of Caleb Williams. Somebody said it the best. I want to say it was BC Combs. Maybe it was Fitz. Either way, I'm going to take their words and I'm going to regurgitate them the best that I can. Paraphrase per se. The Chicago Bears right now are in Groundhog Day. The Chicago Bears are in Groundhog Day. What do you mean by that, Buck? What do I mean is they hire a coach. That coach is there for 3 years. In the second year, when the coach comes in, he already has a quarterback that's on his second, potentially third year. Second year in, third year in, he's like, they aren't succeeding. They're still a 6-win team, 5-win team, whatever, yada, yada, yada. All of a sudden, that coach is like, hey, I can't win because such and such quarterback is not my guy. Mitchell Trubisky isn't my guy. Justin Fields isn't my guy. Caleb Williams isn't my guy. So then, said coach, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's Eberflus, whoever it is, John Fox, then third year drafts said quarterback. They still suck. Next year he is fired. Bring in a new coach. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. It is tough in Chicago right now. It is tough in Chicago, unfortunately. Alpha Rob says 5-12. They're going to have a top 10 pick. Johnson will try to get rid of fingernail painting crybaby because he didn't draft him. Bingo. Groundhog Day all over again. And John says, listen, same here. I cannot stand Caleb Williams. And John says, whoa, hold my beer. I'm going to change my prediction. I'm going to waffle around. I'm going to go from 10-7, the Bears potentially making the playoffs, the Bears battling for second seed in the NFC North, and I'm going to change it to 7-10. Definition of waffle, but hey, stand by your pick. Is it 10-7 or 7-10, John? But he says, hey, but then he wants to clarify. He says, hey, I forgot that they have a tough schedule. They do have a tough schedule. Just like last season, BC Combs was high on the Bears. Most of the Chicago Bears fans base and other podcasts that on the Believe Sports Network here, they were fans of the Chicago Bears, they thought they were going to do well. I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes. Look who they play. They have a tough-ass schedule. I'm not saying that the Bears are bad. They have a tough schedule. Just like now. They're not bad. They're average, and they got a tough schedule, and it just doesn't fall out. And John says they're going to beat the Raiders, Dolphins, Browns, Giants, Packers, Vikings, Browns. All wins. There's your 7. That's pretty much where we're at, right? But guys, I do have the Bears as a losing team. I do have them sitting at 6-11 this season, dropping them from 9-8 down to 6 wins, all because of the Ben Johnson effect. I do not think it is real. I think Ben Johnson just fell in a perfect situation in Detroit, got his accolades, bada bing, bada boom. Now he's a head coach. Sadie says, I think Ben Johnson is too good of a coach to let them finish below 500. We will see. Because Ben Johnson was at Miami. Now, he wasn't an offensive coordinator in Miami, but he was in Miami. The Miami Dolphins were not very good. Saints, not the Browns, twice. I got you. I was picking up what you put down, John. But hey, guys, what do you guys think about the Chicago Bears in 2025? But let's move on to the one and only Green Bay Packers. And if you want to flash back to May, just like we have been all week long, guys, I had the Green Bay Packers as a 10-win team back in May. I bought into the Jordan Love's growth, the offense, the rhythm down the stretch last season, and a young defense ready to take the next step. But now we got to slow it down, baby. The defense has been exposed yet in camp by Jordan Love carving up his defense. The Packers trade away Jair Alexander. Yes, I know he was always injured, nicked up, or whatever, but let's not act like he wasn't still a dog. When he was on the field, Jair Alexander was a lockdown corner. He was a dog. In this wide receiver room, guys, let's just be honest. On paper, it could be one of the best of the NFL or one of the most average ones on NFL. It's boom or bust for this receiver core. There is no in-between with this group. Of course, I said on paper. But the bottom line is, guys, the floor for this Green Bay Packers team is 6 wins. If everything falls apart, the world comes crashing down, 6 wins is their max that they could possibly get, right? But the ceiling, I still have them at 11 wins. And they can steal a few games from teams like the Eagles and or the Lions. They could definitely get that 11 wins. But guys, let's dive into my full game-by-game breakdown of 2025 Green Bay Packers. And weeks 1 through 5, guys, they have an early season gauntlet. They play some tough games the first 4 weeks of the season. Week number 1, they are at home taking on the Detroit Lions. This one's tough. This one's got us buzzing. If you are a Detroit Lions fans, you are buzzing. If you are a Green Bay Packers fan, you are buzzing. Starting off with a division rival that owns the trenches, the Green Bay Packers struggle to contain Detroit Lions front 7, and the Packers start off season 0-1. It's a long day if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, especially at home. And then week number 2, it doesn't get any easier. You are back at home still, back-to-back home games, weeks 1 and 2, but you play the Washington Commanders. The defense does rebound. Jordan Love takes advantage of a young-ish Washington secondary. And I think the Packers do beat the Washington Commanders week 2, giving them a 1-1 record. And then week number 3, they travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. If this was in December in Cleveland, I might potentially pick the Browns. But early season, we don't know who the running back is going to be. We don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. I think the Green Bay Packers control the tempo and steal a tough road win, moving them to 2-1 on the year. And then week number 4, they travel to AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, historically, guys, the Green Bay Packers have owned the Dallas Cowboys as of late. But this year, Dallas is a nightmare matchup, especially on the road for the Green Bay Packers. Their defense is going to create turnovers, and Jordan Love gets rattled early and often. They drop to 2-2. Week 5 is their bye week. Perfect time to regroup, rest, and get healthy. So, guys, after the bye week, heading into week 6, guys, the Green Bay Packers are sitting at 2-2. Not a bad start, but there's little margin for error with the upcoming stretch because weeks 6 through 10 are full of mid-season momentum swings. You can be either way up or way down. This part of the season is going to make or break the Green Bay Packers moving forward. And it starts at week 6 at home, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think week 6, guys, the Green Bay Packers come out off the bye fresh and focused. They frustrate Joe Burrow just enough and grind out a statement win, giving them a 3-2 record on the year. And then week number 7, they head to the West Coast to head over to Lambeau West in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, to be exact, to take on the Arizona Cardinals. This is a business trip, and the Green Bay Packers handles the Arizona without much drama. They move to 4-2 on the year. But week number 8, they travel to Pittsburgh Steelers. The Aaron Rodgers revenge game, as this is being circled up as. He's not in Green Bay anymore, but he's going to make it personal. Pittsburgh outmuscles the Packers, moving the Packers to 4-3 on the year. Week 9, they're back at home, take on the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, I don't know what they're doing. Do you want to call it rebuilding, retooling, whatever? They are not very, very good, and the Green Bay Packers take full advantage of it. The offense finds rhythm, and the defense holds up. 5-3 on the year. Now, week number 10, back at home. Monday Night Football, baby, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. This could be a signature win of the season. This could be the major momentum swing that the Green Bay Packers need to win the NFC North. This could be the momentum that catapults the Green Bay Packers to Super Bowl status. Monday Night Football, a primetime opponent, all eyes on them. But guess what? The Eagle guys are too deep, they're too balls, and Philadelphia Eagles controls the line of scrimmage, and they send the Green Bay Packers to 5-4. This game is not even close. Let's just be honest. So sitting at 5-4, guys, the Green Bay Packers are still right in the mix, but they still have questions at wide receiver consistency, and defense discipline lingers. The defense is not very good right now. Wide receivers are not very, very good either. But then weeks 11 through 14, the divisional test and primetime spotlight is all on them. Week 11, they travel to New York to take on the New York Football Giants. This is the trap game. Short work week, long travel, cold weather, and the New York Giants stun the Packers with a late defensive stand, moving them to 5-5 on the year. But then, week 12, they're back at home taking on the Minnesota Vikings. This is where Jordan Love finally steps up and outduels J.J. McCarthy, and the Packers get a much-needed divisional win, moving them to 6-5 on the year. Then week 13, Thanksgiving Day morning, 11 a.m., they travel to Detroit Ford Stadium to take on the Detroit Lions. National stage, but the Detroit Lions guys are too physical, they're too fast, they're just too focused. The Packers dropped a big one here, falling to 6-6, 500 on the year. Week 14, a little extra rest, 10 days off. They're back at home, take on the Chicago Bears. And the Green Bay Packers own this matchup at Lambeau. Caleb Williams has some moments, but the Packers pull away late, moving them to 7-6 on the year. So 7-6, guys, and with 3 of their last 4 on the road, guys, the Green Bay Packers playoff hopes are very, very much alive. But every game still matters. And weeks 15 through 18, guys, all they need to do is win 2 games, I feel, and they could lock up the division. If they could win 2 games versus the Broncos or the Bears or the Ravens or the Vikings, they lock up the first place in the division. Can they do it? Can they win 2 of their last 4? Week 15, they're at Denver taking on the Broncos. But Sean Payton's crew is physical, experienced, and playing great football late in the year. The Packers fall to 7-7. That's tough. Week 16, they're back on the road, taking on the Chicago Bears. Can they get a division win? They need win 2 of their last 4 to lock up playoff seed, to lock up the NFC North. But the Chicago Bears get the revenge at Soldier Field. Caleb Williams plays his best game of the season. The Packers defense breaks down. 7-8. Playoff hopes are lingering. Still there, but they're lingering, hanging by a thread. And guess what? Week 17, they run into this buzzsaw called the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is locked in. The Packers can't match the firepower, and the Green Bay Packers slide to 8-9 on the season. That is tough because week 18, they travel to Minnesota. Pride game, season finale. Green Bay Packers dig deep and finish the season strong with a divisional win over their rival, moving them to 9-8 on the season. So, guys, I think the Packers limp to the finish line with a 1-3 stretch, and they finish 9-8 on the season, potentially just missing the playoffs, and a disappointing ending to a season that started with so much problem. So, guys, my final prediction for the Green Bay Packers is 9-8. This puts them just below the 10-win mark that I had them back in May. This team is good enough to be competitive. The ceiling is 11 wins if they upset teams like the Lions or the Eagles, but their defense regression in camp and inconsistency at wide receiver, the floor is just as real. 6 wins if they stumble out of the gate. Jordan Love is still growing. It is time to grow up. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, these guys need to step up if the offense wants to keep pace with the NFC elites, a.k.a. the Detroit Lions. But guys, will the Green Bay Packers make a late season playoff push, or is it a step back before the big leap in 2026? Comment down below, guys. It's a live, interactive show, so let's get to your comments. Casey says the Bears need to do a full rebuild starting. We'll talk about the Bears later. But yes, I agree. John says absolutely factual. Ben Johnson was a product of a ridiculous offense. Playmakers everywhere. So John is saying there's no Ben Johnson effect in Chicago. That's tough. Alpha Rob says they're 10-7. They're average at best. Nothing special in the Green Bay Packers. And John has no love for the Green Bay Packers sitting at 6-11. But then Sadie is on the complete opposite spectrum. She says 12-5. She says, John, you need to slow it down, baby. You need to put some respect on Jordan Love's name. And John's like, no. Jordan Love is poo-poo. He's a little poo-poo from the poop shoot. That's tough. But what do you guys think? Green Bay Packers, 6-11, 12-5, somewhere in between. Let us know. Now, let's get to the team that everybody's here for. The Detroit Lions. Put some respect on their name because they are the real freaking deal, baby. Or are they? Guys, back in May, I had the Detroit Lions pegged as an 11-win team. And here in August, guess what, guys? Nothing has changed. This team is still a physical, mentally tough, and a well-coached unit. They know who they are, and they don't blink in big moments. In fact, the biggest chance this offseason hasn't come from within the rest of the NFC North taking a step back. Guys, the Bears are a year away. The Packers are regressing, and the Vikings are a rookie second-year quarterback mode, whatever you want to call it, JJ. But guys, I do have the floor for the Detroit Lions as a 9-win team. If everything falls apart, they're still a winning team. They still 9 wins. But if everything clicks, they are a well-oiled machine, guys. This is easily another 15-win team. If they take care of business and like grab a few of those heavyweight matchups along the way, 15 wins is not out of reach, and it's not going to shock anybody if they do it. However, let's break down the 2025 Detroit Lions game by game. And week 1 through 5, guys, they come out swinging. They give you the right hook, they give you the left hook, and they give you another right hook. They are dominant the first 5 weeks of the season. Week number 1, when they travel to Green Bay, right out of the gate, they make a statement at Lambeau. Division road wins are how you stay on top of the NFC. 1-0, baby. Guess what? Week number 2, they play yet another divisional game, this time at home, taking on the Chicago Bears. Detroit Lions' physicality overwhelms Caleb Williams and this young Chicago Bears team. This one isn't close. 2-0. Welcome back, Ben Johnson. Go back home. Now, week 3. This is the first hiccup of the season when they travel to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, Lamar Jackson does Lamar Jackson things when he plays the NFC, and the Detroit Lions drop a tough road test moving into 2-1 on the year. But guess what? Week number 4, they're back at home, taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns' offense can't hang, and the Detroit Lions dominate up front 3-1. Then week number 5, they travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Not only do the Lions go into Cincinnati, they put up 40, 50 points in Cincinnati. They pull the shootout win in, and this one puts the NFC on notice. They are 4-1. They are dominating teams as of right now. They are flying high at 4-1 after the first 5 weeks of the season. The offense is humming, the defense is controlling the line, and the locker room is dialed in. And guess what? Week 6 through 10, guys, it is full steam ahead. Because week 6, they travel to Arrowhead Stadium and play my Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, Arrowhead is never easy, but the Detroit Lions answer the call. This is a signature win on a national stage, moving them to 5-1. In week 7, it keeps on going. Choo-choo, all aboard, because they go home and they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Detroit Lions steamrolled a rebuilding Bucs team, moving them to 6-1, heading into the bye week. Week 8, perfect timing for a bye week. Get healthy, get refocused, because with the division stretch looming, guys, this could be a make or break part of the season. Well, guess what? Week 9, they are making it, because they're back at home taking on the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy is not ready for this Lions pass rush. Detroit Lions clamp down, moving them to 7-1 on the year. And week 10, full steam ahead again, yet again. But this time in Washington when they take on the Commanders. It's the business trip, efficient, clean, and dominant. Detroit Lions move to 8-1 on the year. So at the halfway point, guys, they're sitting at 8-1. The Lions are clearly in the hunt for the NFC's top seed, and they're separating from the pack. However, big stakes on the big stage, a little bit of hiccups toward the end could cause disaster. It starts with week 11 when they travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. This is war. Detroit Lions hold their own. They take shots back and forth. It is a Rocky Balboa movie back and forth, but the Philadelphia Eagles take it late, dropping the Lions to 8-2. Week number 12, they're back at home, take on the New York Football Giants. This is a bounce-back game. Detroit Lions defense gets after it, and the defense controls the clock, moving them to 9-2. Week 13, back at home, taking on the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers have no answers, and the Detroit Lions complete the season sweep, moving them to 10-2 on the year. And next Thursday night game after Thanksgiving is week 14 when they at home yet again take on the Dallas Cowboys. Jared Goff plays his cleanest game of the year, and the Lions keep on rolling 11-2. But then weeks 15 through 18, the final boss is here. They're sitting at 11-2. They're kind of taking their foot off the gas a little bit. They're saying, hey, we're top dogs. We're the number 1 seed. Who can beat us at this particular point? Week 15, they play the LA Rams. Not only do they play the LA Rams, they travel to LA to take on the Rams. This one's personal for the Rams. This one's personal for Matthew Stafford. And Sean McVay gets the better of Jared Goff in a playoff caliber battle, dropping the Lions to 11-3. Week 16, they are back at home, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Smash mouth football in Detroit in December. The Lions live for the moment, moving them to 12-3. In week 17, back at home, or back on the road, take on the Minnesota Vikings. This is a trap game. This is a letdown game. And the Minnesota Vikings take advantage of a slight letdown, dropping the Lions to 12-4. And then week 18, they travel to Chicago. They're tired, but they need this win over the Chicago Bears at this rate. But in Chicago Field, or at Soldier Field in Chicago, the Bears play spoiler. They step up. Ben Johnson beats his former team. Detroit Lions stumbled into the playoffs at 12-5. So the last 4 games of the season, they finished 1-3. But they still lock up a 12-5 record and possibly the number 2 seed in the playoffs. And nobody wants to play them. So guys, for my final record for the Detroit Lions for the 2025 season, I'm going to have them at 12-5. It's not a perfect season, stumbled late, but it's a statement season. They showed again they can hang with anyone and beat the best, aka the Kansas City Chiefs. They are battle tested heading into the postseason. The floor for this group remains 9 wins, and the ceiling, if they can stay healthy, like I said, is 15 wins. But what do you guys think? Can the Lions take the next step and claim the number 1 seed in the NFC, or do the late season stumbles worry you? Guys, comment down below. Live interactive show. Hit the subscribe button, like button. Remember, share this with a couple friends as well. We're live Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. East Coast time. John says 12 wins is where I'm at. John, that's where I'm at as well. I think the first 3 quarters of the season, they are dominant. Dominant, smacking baby back, bitches, back and forth, back and forth. Nobody's stopping them. They just get a little complacent, right? They need a little bit of wake-up call. And honestly, John, if they do go 12-5, like we both think they will, and I think they're going to have 11 wins going the last 4 games of the season, and they do go 1-3, that could be a blessing in disguise. Because think about the Kansas City Chiefs a couple years ago. when they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders Christmas Day. All they had to do was win one game to lock up the playoffs, for the all month of December, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. The lowest of the lows, they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders Christmas Day. They circled the bus around the field. What did the Chiefs do? They did not look back. Pedal to the metal, Super Bowl champions. I could see the Detroit Lions doing that same thing. I could see them doing the same thing. And Sadie says they're going to be 14-3. She's loving her some Detroit Lions. Listen, it is not out of reach, honestly, Sadie, as they do have a tough schedule like the Vikings and the Bears and the Packers, right? They play the Cowboys, they play the Steelers, they play the Chiefs, they play the Eagles and Commanders. But if they could beat the Chiefs, they could beat the Commanders, they can beat the Eagles. And to be totally honest, 17-0 is not out of reach. 17-0 is not out of reach, but let's be realistic. 12-5. And John,
Pigskin pun. Get you some.
says the line would be 13-4. Now, they win 2 of their last 4. 13 wins is not out of reach. John says, I'm looking forward to the Ravens game. Lions owe them some repetition, how do you say it? AKA Justin Tucker kicked the game-winning field goal at Ford Field, 3-4 years ago. The clock hit 00. Pause a second, snap the ball, and then kicked, a 67-yarder or 66-yarder to win the game. Oh, the Lions ready, baby. The Lions are ready. However, Lamar Jackson does own the NFC. He has 1 loss versus the NFC teams. That's tough. Alpha Rob says 12-5. They learned to pace themselves this year, knowing that they don't have to put up 50 versus bad teams. They don't play a lot of bad teams this year, honestly. But yes, last year they did put up a lot of points versus bad teams. You did get tired. 1 and done, John. 1 and done.
Pigskin pun. Get you some.
John Cedrin, pigskin pundit himself, says they're going to lose to the Ravens, lose to the Eagles, Rams, and Chiefs. And honestly, John, I think they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to stumble early this season and then turning on late. John Cunningham says, I don't care about their first win. It's the last win that I care about. Super Bowl or bust, baby. You better slow it down. Let's worry about getting a playoff win first. Worry about the playoff win. Lions have the toughest schedule in the league. The NFC North in general has the toughest schedule in the league because they do play a very, very sneaky good NFC East division. They play a really, really good AFC North division. Plus, the Lions do have the first place schedule versus the AFC West, which they'll play the Chiefs, right? And so, yes, they do have a tough schedule. But say, like, the toughest schedule is subjective. Because how do you determine the toughest schedule? Win and lost last season, win and lost 3 seasons ago. What we're predicting win and loss is like it's very, very fluid. But yes, they do have a very, very tough schedule. But guys, just to recap the NFC North here, the NFC North guys obviously is the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and then of course the Minnesota Vikings. With that being said, guys, the NFC North is shaping up to be a one-team race. Let's just be honest. There's only one contender ready to compete for that top seed in the NFC, and then it comes the other 3 teams trying to identify very different ways. Let's break it all down. Final records, key trends, and what to expect from each squad in the 2020-25 season. Now, guys, the Detroit Lions, I had to have them finishing at 12-5. No surprise here. I've got the Lions at 12-5 and winning the NFC North. This is a veteran team with elite trench play on both sides of the ball, a quarterback who knows the system, and a coaching staff that's built the culture players believe in. They start fast with wins over the Packers, Bears, Bengals, and Chiefs. That early momentum puts them in the NFC top-tier conversation. They do cool down the stretch, going 1-3 in their final 4 games, but still finish with 12 wins and a real shot at first-round bye. Guys, this is a championship-caliber roster. They're not sneaking up on anybody anymore, but look out for them. Next up, guys, the Packers are next. They are a team just above 500, sitting at 9-8. Jordan Love continues to grow, slow, but he continues to grow. And while he does not take a full leap into elite quarterback status this year, he shows just enough to keep Green Bay Packers competitive. They handle business in the middle stretch of the season, picking up wins over the Browns, Bengals, and Cardinals. They split with the Vikings and Bears, and then they get swept by the Detroit Lions. And that's the difference in the divisional race. They did trade Jair Alexander, which I think hurts the secondary very, very much. The wide receiver room still has huge question marks. 1 week, they will look at the best group in football, and the next week, they will simply disappear. If they start slow against teams like the Browns and Cowboys, things could spiral out of control for the Packers in 2025. But if they come out strong, they are definitely a playoff hunt team. And then the Chicago Bears. I was high on the Bears back in May. I had them at 9 wins. But after watching Caleb Williams struggle in camp, I brought them down to 6-11. It's not about talent. It's about the Bears have playmakers. They have talent across the board. It's about the consistency and growing pains. From a second-year quarterback to a first-year head coach, Ben Johnson. They get wins over the Vikings, Cowboys, Saints, Browns, Packers, and Lions, and those wins keep fans hopeful. But the long midseason stretch, week 6 through 14, when they drop 7 straight losses, that's going to be the difference of the playoff chase and a long year of disappointment. If the Ben Johnson effect is real, give it another year. Right now, it's a rebuilding team with some flashes, but not enough firepower. And then, let's just be honest. This is a full rebuild for the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy is the guy, but after missing all of his rookie year, this is really his rookie season. And no matter how many film sessions he sits through, nothing replaces live reps. If the Minnesota Vikings go 5-12, that's where I have them. So, guys, the final standings of the NFC North in 2025, Lions at first place, Packers in second, heading into the wild card bubble, Bears at 6-11, and the Vikings at 5-12. Guys, this is the Detroit Lions Division 2 lose. Green Bay and Chicago are trying to stay relevant, and the Minnesota Vikings is looking for reps. So what do you guys think? Are the Lions the NFC top dogs? Can Jordan Love and Caleb Williams make a leap? Or is it start of a long rebuild for everyone not named Detroit? Guys, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, and let's discuss them in the comments below. But right now, guys, it is time for cold, hard facts. All right, guys, it is time for Cold Hard Facts. If you've not seen this segment before, here's how it works. I'm going to lay down some straight facts. No fluff, no sugarcoat, just real, undeniable truth about what's going on in the NFL world. When we're talking cold, hard facts, we're cutting through the noise and getting what the truth is, what's happening and what is for real. No room for the debate here. These are all facts that you can take to the back. Jack. But guys, buckle up because we're about to drop some knowledge. No overreaction, no exaggeration. It's pure cold, hard facts. Let's dive into it. And guys, the first cold, hard fact of the day. Simply put, Shedeur Sanders is that guy. That is the cold, hard fact. Guys, let's talk about what's really going on in Cleveland because the headlines are trying to blur it. They're trying to bury the truth. The analysts are dancing around it, and the haters, they're just losing their minds right now. It's simple as that. But guys, Shedeur Sanders is starting week 1 of the NFL preseason for the Cleveland Browns, and it's not because of injuries. Let's just be honest. And it's not because of lack of options, and it's not some cute publicity stunt either. It's because the Browns believe in him. If the season were to start today, NFL week 1, Shedeur Sanders would be the Browns starting quarterback, period. Yeah, they got Joe Flacco, old. Yeah, they got Kenny Pickett, inconsistent. Dylan Gabriel still trying to figure it out, but it isn't a default decision. This is a performance-based decision. You watch practice? Do you watch camp? Guys, Shedeur Sanders is shining. He is commanding the offense. He's hitting throws with confidence, reading the defense, running the tempo, and he's doing that with a chip on his shoulder that we saw all through college. Guys, the Browns are looking at the future, not the past. And whether the critics want to admit it or not, Shedeur Sanders is focusing on his team and taking him serious. Guys, the truth is the locker room is noticing. The coaching staff is trusting, and the media, they're scrambling to rewrite the narratives. So here's your cold hard facts, guys. Shedeur Sanders is quarterback 1 material. And week 1, that's right, guys, week 1 is just beginning of the preseason. So what do you guys think? Is Shedeur Sanders ready to take the lead for the Browns, or you still think it's just a fluke? The truth is, guys, he is ready. That's the cold, hard facts. Let me know what your thoughts. And cold hard facts number 2, guys. Jordan Addison should have never drove drunk. That is the cold hard fact. The whole cold fact is simple. Jordan Addison should have never have gotten behind the wheel when he's been drinking or drunk or even buzzed. I know. You're going to hear the excuses. I've heard it from day one when I said he should never drive drunk. He wasn't drunk. He pled no contest. It's not a DUI. Yeah, I get it. The truth is, guys, pleading no contest means you're basically saying, I was drunk, but I'm not going to say it outright. That's the legal way of admitting get without fighting it. And the NFL sees it the same way. Look, these are the facts. Do not drive drunk, period. You're making millions upon $1 million a year. Call an Uber, call a friend, call a family member. Hell, call me. Don't get behind the wheel drunk, period. Addison was caught asleep at the wheel in a Rolls Royce on a freeway blocking traffic. That's not a misunderstanding. That is dumb and it's dangerous. He's suspended for the first 3 games of the NFL season, missing the opener against the Bears and then the Lions and then the Bengals. That's a huge blow to the Minnesota Vikings offense. The guy had a chance to be a key weapon in this year, but he said he put his team in a tough spot. And this isn't about to brush off with reckless behavior. Remember last year when he was cited going 140 mile an hour on the Minnesota freeway, reckless driving, high speed, and now a DUI incident? Guys, this pattern is clear. The Vikings will have to lean on Jordan Naylor and others to fill the void while Addison pays the price. Bottom line, guys, you make millions of dollars, you don't drive drunk. You make $3, you don't drive drunk. You make $0, you don't drive drunk. You make smart decisions. Jordan Addison didn't, and now he's paying it, guys. That is the cold, hard fact. And guys, now for the last cold, hard fact of the day. Cooper DeJean has the most to prove out of any second-year player in 2025. That is the cold, hard fact. Guys, let's not talk about the one guy in the NFL that this season who has the most to prove. And no, it's not the quarterback. It's not a flashy wide receiver. It's not the same overhyped draft pick. It's Cooper DeJean. Yeah, the corner, the nickel, the second-round pick out of Iowa who exploded midseason for the Philadelphia Eagles and made everyone pay attention. And now here's the cold, hard fact. That breakout doesn't mean anything if you cannot back it up, baby. Cooper DeJean isn't just a corner. He's playing the most mentally demanding position on defensive side of the ball, the nickel. You're dealing with motion assignments, changing pre-snaps, rock combos, shifting mid-play, and the players coming at you from every direction. Backs, tight ends, slot guys, even the number one receiver sneaking inside. And guess what, guys? Cooper DeJean handled it like a 5-year vet. This dude was out there making coverage calls, lining up teammates, reading the quarterback, and diagnosing plays beyond his responsibility. That's not normal. That's not rookie stuff. Go watch the tape. That play against the Ravens, he was stopped he was supposed to cover the flat, but he scanned the field, he read the field, he adjusted, he baited Lamar Jackson into throwing the ball when he had no business even attempting. Cooper DeJean flipped, tricked, tackled the ball, and made some of the most corners in the league flat out cannot make. And that's what straight number 8 does. 33, actually. But here's the thing. Not everyone knows his name. Now, the expectations are real. The pressure is on. And this season, he gets to prove that it wasn't a fluke. You're not sneaking up on anyone this time, Cooper DeJean. Teams will scheme for you. Quarterbacks will test you. And you are really show what you showed last year. You'll rise through it. Guys, Cooper DeJean has the skill, has the football IQ, and the insights to be elite. But 2025, the year, be the year's next name in the NFL, or just a great rookie story that never repeats. Guys, the cold hard facts, Cooper DeJean has the most to prove in 2025.